Can I shoot lasers out of my dick?
Lasers.
It doesn't.
Just wait for Byron to tell me I can go. You just let me know, brother, when I can go.
Action.
Welcome to another edition of Mass Mats and Mayhem. I almost forgot. It's been that long. It's Mass Mats and Mayhem. I'm your host, the Outlaw LA Red. You can find me on Twitter at or social media in general at JustinHarvey75. You can find the entire show on social media at MMMshow75. We have been gone far too long. It's been a while. How long has it been? Does anybody know?
Over a year.
Maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm moving my phone.
18
Year and
months.
three.
I don't know.
3 months.
Let's put it this way. I've been doing my other podcast for a year. We just celebrated our
What's
1
your
year
other
anniversary.
podcast?
It's called Another Miserable Podcast. I already know none of you motherfuckers listen because I track that stuff.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if it's
every
any
week.
good. Is it any good? Should I
Probably
listen?
not. No, you guys should listen. Listen to their retrospective episodes about specific years. They're pretty fun. I'm proud of those.
I'll
It's
listen
a
to
lot
it.
of work. They're good.
I'll give it a
No,
chance.
I liked your the thing you talked about last episode week.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
That one thing. Yeah, you're
It's
so
really
full
good.
of crap. Personally, I've been I was at the NFL for a while. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but I was doing like
XFL.
I
knew
doing
that.
like
You don't
fantasy football
You don't need
stuff.
to keep telling me about it. I knew that.
Yeah, and it was sweet though because I had Cody Rhodes on the show and Brandy, and they were awesome, and we had some gamers and like the lead character from The Flash. She was on there for a little bit. It was like a fantasy football league where they actually all played each other, these celebrities and analysts. It was dope, but it took up all of my time doing 4 or 5 episodes of real television every week, so I wasn't really around. And also, there was no Lucha Underground. What have you been doing, Meatloaf?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, great.
Wow. He's frozen.
Hey, I see why we
Literally.
didn't do this for a year and a half.
Meatloaf, what have you been up to across the pond?
Working in a supermarket.
Meatloaf, if I make a suggestion, just come up with something that's interesting to talk about. Anytime someone asks you a question, just make something up.
Talk about your time at the School of Witchcraft and Wizardry.
It is about
yeah.
2 a.m. there, right? 3 a.m.,
Oh.
4 a.m.?
It is 2:50.
250. Wow.
Yeah.
We're sorry that we made
And I had
you
a
get up
nap some of it,
for
you know.
this poorly directed shit show.
That's because
I'm not
Byron's
sorry for anything.
Byron is in charge of the controls tonight, people. I have nothing to do with this newfangled operation. Byron, what
I'm
the
not
hell have you been doing?
I've been learning how to use StreamYard.
That's
for the
nice.
first
Look,
time.
so the new version of MMMshow,
So
we
the
decided is
past
going to be
year,
on a
I was,
timeline. Oh, God, come on. We're trying to make the show shorter. We're trying to make more Josh Pillow friendly editions. So the show is going to be shorter, more concise. We actually, we wrote things down that we're going to talk about. We're going to do something different. This is the new.
I just had a joke that I didn't say. I'm gonna type it.
Wait, this is the new and improved Mass Mats and Mayhem. In fact, I'm going to take my mask off now. Oh, it's been weeks.
Oh,
I've been.
what's on your
shooting-
face?
Oh yeah, I grew a little bit of a beard for the first time.
Did you trim
ever.
your beard?
Yeah, once I trimmed it
Okay.
just to try to even it out a little bit.
No, that's cool. Beards are cool. I was off shooting a show called Live Rescue. I was embedded with the Sacramento Fire Department for a year, but I worked evenings, so I wasn't able to do this.
Yes. So basically, we're all over the world. We're totally
Yes.
international, kinda. When Meef responds to us, and we wanted to bring the show back. We figured now is a great time to do it, and what better to do than watch wrestling, talk about wrestling, and we talked about it for a long time, like what we were going to do. We wanted to make some format changes. We didn't want to just be off the cuff and be on for 3.5 hours anymore like we used to. So we've changed some things, but we also decided that we still wanted to talk about Lucha Underground. So we're going to actually go back through some old episodes. We're going to get some inside dirt on some things that are going on now. We're going to talk about where some people have been, where they've gone. We're going to do hand motions when Casey wants to. Still going to be ridiculous. We don't give a fuck. But at the same time, we decided to bring it back because we enjoy it. We hope you enjoy it. And if you don't, we're still going to do it because we enjoy it. And fuck you.
Yeah, suck our dicks.
So that being said, if you've never seen this show before, we got this show going because we were all just talking about Lucha Underground anyway and wrestling and stuff that we like. So we basically, I did the very first episode just by myself, just talking about Lucha Underground for shits and giggles. But then we slowly started adding more people in until we got to having Byron and Casey and me, Floaf, and Jim Velasco when he's around. And we just have fun doing it. So we're going to keep doing that for as long as we can until the rails come off, which is probably about 23 minutes from now. We're still going to talk about Lucha Underground. Right now, we're going back and we're watching the whole thing from the start. We've got some great insight. We were at a ton of the tapings. We know a lot of the people who are involved in doing it. So we have a lot of fun discussing it. But we're also going to talk about what's currently going on in wrestling, what's going on in pop culture, other shit that we like, MMA, whatever. So that's the show in a nutshell. Enjoy the ride. If you don't enjoy it, send Byron an email because I don't want
Venmo me at Byron Fever at Venmo. By the way, I went our whole initial run trying to get people to send me money on Venmo, and I would give them my Twitter and Instagram handle at Byron Fever, which you can read. No, my Venmo is actually at Byron Turk. So if you want to send me any money, that's where you would send it to. So someone else got all of your generous donations for a year.
Don't send them money.
Don't.
You get nefarious things.
Yeah, but you could write comments when you send the money. So like send me $5 and then write, I think you're doing a really good job.
Byron, we know you.
Or
we
give
know
Byron like $150 and say it's for butt stuff, like I did.
Yeah, he's just going to spend it on the dark web anyway. So it's fine.
It's important to note that we are creatures of habit, and the old format had an automatic switcher for the video. So the person talking would be the main person, and everyone else would be a small little icon, small little picture-in-picture situation. So some behaviors while someone else is talking is instinctual and maybe not meant to be viewed in the order of the screen.
Yeah,
it's meant to be viewed.
TMI.
But now it will. That's new policy. New policy.
TMI. You're gonna scare people. I mean, Meatloaf had to take down the sex doll in the background and everything. This is.
He did take it down. He's getting a new part installed inside of it.
Whoa.
Oh,
I don't need to know about that.
oh.
All right, so I know there's some people watching this that probably want to know the scoop on Lucha Underground. That want to know if Lucha Underground is coming back or disappearing like Casey. I have some info, and if you stick around with us, maybe I'll give it to you. I don't know. We'll see.
I think it's more important to talk about what's happening with Casey. I'm concerned.
I'm not concerned at all. He always does stuff like this. You just have never paid attention to him before.
For
very hot
those
in
who
here.
can't see this, Casey has disappeared into a brick wall almost. We're barely seeing his essence. And
It's another Casey in a wall.
it's happened in that movie Back to the Future. And if someone completely disappeared, to my understanding, in that movie, they would be gone forever. And so I'm very concerned for Casey right now.
Where we're going, we don't need roads, Byron.
We used to do 3-hour episodes. I wonder why.
I'm not surprised at all. I'm gonna keep things moving though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a couple collabs.
Look,
Let's go, my Cajuns. We watched season 1, episode 1.
Lots of people are talking about COVID and other stuff like that. We're not here for that right now, guys. Just enjoy this. We're going to talk about some Lucha Underground. We've all been kind of missing it a little bit for various reasons recently. It's kind of fun to go back and watch it. So we're going to take a little trip down memory lane, and then after that, we'll talk about some current stuff. But I want to talk to you guys about the origins of Lucha Underground. And just kind of going back to that whole moment. I know I first heard about it in the trades when, there was this ridiculous talk at the time of Mark Burnett and Robert Rodriguez doing a wrestling show together. And that was like all the trades said at the time. I didn't know it was coming from the any AAA involvement or Dorian or anything like that. There was just talk that Mark Burnett, the Apprentice guy, and Robert Rodriguez, the Dust Till Dawn guy, were going to do a wrestling show, and they were going to merge those two worlds. And my head was blown. Like, I was just like, first of all, it'll never happen. That's a pipe dream. That's a joke. That's like an Onion article. That's not real news. Mm-hmm. What did you guys think when you first heard about the concept of Lucha Underground, or where did you even hear about it?
I read the newsletters and shit, so I probably heard about it there, and my immediate reaction was probably, oh, this sounds like that shitty fucking Masked Warriors Lucha Libre USA show that was on MTV, which was fucking terrible. And I'm so glad it wasn't that, but it took me a while to get into the show because I still had a bad taste in my mouth from that one.
What about you, Meef?
I'd not watched wrestling. I'd given up on it altogether. And then my friend told me to start watching it. I want to say 2015 January, when it was oh God, see, I've forgotten. That's how long it's been.
It's weird, the timeline.
But yeah,
I want to think it was back when Justin and I finished our Truckee show that I started watching it, but it was, I think, a little bit after that, because I remember coming home from a job and binging a bunch of episodes on like Daily Motion.
Yeah, but it was because I told you to watch it. God damn it!
You told me to watch it. I remember reading about it, and it definitely did sound like garbage at first, just out of pure skepticism because of the track record of like, here's another, like, now you say studio wrestling show and it's like, oh, that's awesome, I want to go and I just want to have fun and watch it and have fun. But back then it was like, oh, it's going to be a bunch of like TV producers trying to make wrestling that seemed dumb back then. And then you hear like they went to a taping and it was all right, and matches were kind of okay. And like, the Chavo Blue Demon Jr. match was, there were botches and it was so. But then you'd see it on the program edited and it was good. And you're like, it's delivering, which is the weirdest thing of all time in wrestling. It delivers.
I mean, I was very surprised initially with it because it really was merging kind of two worlds. You saw those same like cityscape shots that you would see at the beginning of The Apprentice or any kind of Mark Burnett or reality show. And then all of a sudden it would go into this, dark, super heavily saturated colors and, all this other stuff. And it was really from dusk till dawn crossed with a reality show at first, just the look of it. And I was blown away. I was like, I didn't understand. Like, I was an ECW mark back in the day. And like Meatloaf, I was not watching a lot of wrestling at the time. Like what I always tell people, they'll refer to like stuff going on with Daniel Bryan and AJ Lee. And like, I hadn't watched wrestling that period of time. Like literally I was telling Byron like last year, like, I don't know jack about Daniel Bryan because that was like the period of wrestling that I just didn't watch wrestling. And then Lucha Underground kind of brought me back.
Same man.
So it was exciting to see that with the show. Where'd everybody go?
I'm here.
No, I'm back. I'm not, my camera's
You're just
coming up.
Yeah, you're picking your nose. I understand. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to turn your camera off to pick your nose. It's fine.
I think something's happening to my camera too.
No, your camera's totally normal.
Okay.
What happened to my camera? My camera went away.
You guys are amazing. I'm going to keep going.
No, what happened was my computer went to sleep for a second because I set something on it, and then
you got bored of you.
Right. Now click stop camera and start it again. Is this complicated?
Byron was talking to Byron was talking too long and it decided to shut down.
You whatever. I'm gonna go on anyway.
No, keep going. Keep going.
Please.
Anyway, but you're so hilariously funny just as a human being. Like, you blows my mind that you actually made it out of the womb and eventually actually like sourced food and became an adult somehow. I don't understand how you didn't just die in a field somewhere, hopeless and alone.
To be fair, you
Close, but-
told me. Take it easy over there. Don't get hot-headed. Justin, you told me turn off camera, turn on camera.
Yeah.
What I had to do was hit the start camera button.
Okay. I give up on you. All right, so let's talk about this
This is going to be a heavily
this first episode and how it came together too. So I think there's a lot of people out there that probably still don't even know how Lucha Underground came together. That basically Dorian Roldan wanted to kind of branch out from AAA and saw that, you know, America for Lucha Libre had been a tapped market in Southern California in the past, but really wasn't being tapped anymore. And obviously, you know, there's some cheddar involved there. So he got some investors and kind of started creating the IP and you know, talked to several people and had this idea. I don't know exactly how it landed on Burnett and Rodriguez's doorstep from there. Does anybody know that, how it got to MGM and El Rey and those guys?
Very carefully.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I do know that Conan had been trying to get an American Lucha Libre show of any sort of format going for years, if not decades. I mean, it's the real deal when people say Conan is like the most powerful person in wrestling that isn't Dino or Vince McMahon. It's just
well, this was a big part of how he got to be that way too. I mean, he had some juice in some places, but when Lucha Underground came through and his moves that he made after that, after he got removed or pushed out, or
yeah, we can talk
however
about
however you want to tell that particular story. You know, which is funny because I've heard some things about that story that I don't know if I'm allowed to share or not, but maybe I will anyway. Fuck it. Who cares at this point?
People can't go outside to kill you. It's not like someone's going to put a hit on you, Justin.
No, it's not that. It's a respect factor. I don't like to put people on blast unnecessarily.
Yeah.
It's not necessary in my life.
I understand. I feel that. I do think though, we all have different stories of how we started watching it, but I do think what Meef said is kind of the very similar thing between a lot of people that Lucha Underground meant a lot to, is we were kind of lapsed wrestling fans. There was something about watching heroes and villains battle and stories and watching performers, understanding what they were putting on a line to do a show, to do like a live.
I was still watching anything and everything at this point. I don't now. But back
Which
then,
is funny, yeah. It's like it re-inspired you so much that you burned yourself out on this, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
But
between this and PWG, I'm still burnt out on wrestling. Like,
but I will say, like the live atmosphere, the live experience of it, I think was drastically different than doing it just on TV. And that's something that I think we were all very, very fortunate to be a part of.
I think we're very fortunate, but I felt like a lot of it translated really well. And I'm sorry, Meef, I know you never got to go, but we'll rectify that. Most of us have been to a lot of Lucha Underground tapings. Sorry.
Meef, you could have gotten on a plane, dude. You had time.
I'll say this though about the origins of Lucha Underground, and this is not to suck off EV Dub at all, but I really feel like he was one of the key linchpins of the whole thing coming together. It's like Dorian, come on, we all know Dorian has had every kind of crazy idea in the world, but somebody has to pull those ideas off for him. And then even just the concept of Burnett and Robert Rodriguez bringing their kind of worlds together is fine. But you got to have somebody like EB Dub who had done stuff for Tough Enough. He'd done like Survivor and Apprentice and all this Burnett stuff and The Contender, which was a big influence on this show too. Mm-hmm. He had done all those things, and you know he had enough feet in the wrestling world and in the reality and production world that he was able to bring in DJ and Roach and Chavo and Conan and all these other guys and actually make them work as a production unit as well to take this crazy idea and say, oh, well, this is how we do it if we're going to do that as a TV show. And I think it all kind of came together with really interesting level of production. Like one of the things I found the most interesting that I ever heard from EV Dub was when he told us that the editors all worked from home. It was like they were in COVID before it happened. Mm-hmm. You know, he would just send them notes and they would edit at home and send him back awesome stuff. Like Byron and I work in TV. Yeah, and Byron and I, we work in TV, man. There's like a floor of dudes in little tiny rooms that do that stuff, and you go knock on their doors and they kind of come up from their holes, and you know, they're pasty pale people that have never seen the sun, and they just sit in those boxes for 12 hours a day. These guys all work from home and had a blast doing it. Mm-hmm.
What also another thing that stands out to
which
me
is cool because I fucking hate working from home. Just saying.
I wish I could work from home. What stands out to me is
home. I got this fucking curtain for 3 months, man. That's it. It's being a curtain. This is terrible. This quarantine.
I have 3 whole rooms instead of a hotel.
You don't understand. This is like a bad David Lynch movie over here. My whole house is just brown curtain. That's it.
You got to get one of these. Oh, that side. You got to get one of those red.
We live inside a dream.
Yeah, you need one of those bat lights like I've got over there, which isn't on because it's really distracting. But yeah, it flashes. We'll get people
maybe if we get grooving enough, it'll turn on.
No. We don't want to give our audience seizures if you're taking.
What really stands out to me, you know, I suppose, in addition to Lucha Underground being a show that always delivered, like they would have set up and pay off, and that was a huge, you know, brand new thing for wrestling fans. But also, it constantly was evolving and adapting. And if you listen to every story about, I talked to Conan 5 years ago, and he was saying I'm bringing in a Lucha American show to the States. It sounded completely different. And even when like this show, the papers I'm sure were getting signed, it was a different show. And when they started filming, it was more like a telenovela. What really stands out to me is like in the first episode, all the stuff seems like it's a kung fu movie, except they do lucha instead of kung fu, which is awesome. But there's elements like camera operators standing on ringside, which is dumb. Don't do that. And they stopped doing it, and they stopped doing telenovela stuff. Mm-hmm. And then every season, like the guy that you didn't talk about, and I'm sure you have a lot to say, Skip, you see him taking more and more steps, and it all started with him, and it wasn't on purpose. Aside from like you put good people in charge, they'll do good things. They were doing multicam type stuff, and if the story is correct, there he had this sort of idea to do with Puma, Prince Puma, whatever happened to him, and so he just went and shot a single camera promo for him real quick, and it's the one that aired, and everyone saw that, and it just clicked. They're like, "This is the show."
Prince Puma died in shame when he lost to Pentagon at the end of season 3.
Yeah,
he just walked right out. He just walked right out into the street. No, he got hit by a fucking bus when he walked into the street. You guys didn't see that part?
But they would do stuff. No, I think that's just something you see every time you close your eyes.
And
he sat on the edge, you right in the face, ringside. You're giving him attitude, and he's
but who was right? Who won in the end?
Skip Chasen is one of Rodriguez's guys. He actually works for El Rey Network, and somehow they brought him in to produce all the backstage video for Lucha Underground as a director. He cuts the best trailers in the world, so the guy knows how to mimic everyone's style. He can mimic Ridley Scott. He can mimic Rodriguez. He can mimic Tarantino. He can mimic Scorsese. Like, he's cut their trailers, and his trailers are seriously some of the best in the world. They make you feel like you've seen a better movie than the actual movie that you go and see. So Skip coming in and kind of bringing that, like, his goal there, his purpose there was literally like, hey, Skip, you're the guy that's here that is supposed to make this look like what Robert Rodriguez would do in a movie, because everybody else here has either done reality TV or wrestling. Nobody else had that cinematic background. That was 100% Skip Chasen. For anybody who's ever wondering where real cinematic wrestling came from, Skip deserves all the credit for that. He deserves the credit for Pentagon breaking people's arms. There's a few things that Skip doesn't get enough credit. We talk about DJ and Roach and Evie Dub all the time, and even Chavo doing like backstage stuff with producing and agenting and you know, even MVP and other guys like that. Like, you know, there's a lot of people that get credit, but I always felt like Skip didn't get enough. I want to talk about the actual episode. Go ahead, Casey.
I just want to give a shout out to Quinn Saunders, the director of the show, that's actually listed on the Tubi episodes as the director. CSUN alumni. I'm a CSUN alumni. He's actually a CSUN faculty member, or was at the time of the tapings. So that might have been part of me hearing about the show, is people saying, yeah, he's working on this Lucha show now.
Oh, that's good. So he was like the technical director for the live show, right?
Yeah, and I remember emailing him saying, "Hey, you got to introduce me to the writing team," and he didn't. And so I made friends with them on Twitter instead. Hi, DJ. Hi, Chris. Love you guys.
And honestly, that connection that Casey had is largely responsible for any of the access that we ever got. That was where that relationship started. Casey introduced us to all those guys. Casey also doesn't get enough credit for these things. And Casey is a lot more influential to Lucha Underground than a lot of people might know. But I'll get into that later. So
I don't really know that either, so it's news to me. But yeah.
Let's get into the episode in a bit of foreshadowing. A car full of foreign employees of Lucha Underground were not allowed over the border. So this episode, I believe, was rewritten.
Yes, I have heard that story.
Not the last time that would happen either.
No, which is why a lot of the people that I wanted to see on the show didn't start until episode 3, and that's the first episode of the show that I saw. It's a little rough.
That's why they went after, I believe, Mundo and Puma first. I think that was a high-profile match they wanted, if I remember hearing correctly. They wanted to save, but it's a really good thing they did it first. I think that, the wrestling on the first episode isn't the best, but I think that match shows the promise of Lucha Underground, Mundo.
Well, I agree, but I mean, you go to that very first match. Was Chavo versus Blue Demon? Well, let's start with the money first. Now, I do want to get into Chavo and Blue Demon, but coming out and
the story of Dario getting, what words were said to him at a AAA show?
I mean, they were bad. So they sent Dario, when they were promoting Lucha Underground, down to some AAA shows, and in a very Spanish lisp, had him cut promos which were very heat-filled just because of the character that he was portraying. And what's his name? Luis Fernandez Gil, is that right?
Yes, and he was told that
he's an actor.
He was told that his mom's vajayjay tasted like sour milk. In Spanish.
So classic.
Yeah.
I mean, the poor guy, he's just an actor. He's like a normal, really nice guy, and they basically just dragged him. The first guy they just dragged into the wrestling world and just like, here, cut a promo.
I refuse to believe he's anyone but Dario Cueto in real life, which is why season 4 never happened.
Not Antonio Cueto?
Antonio.
Justin, do you remember me?
Here we go, Bob.
All right, so here's they showed
hold on.
People roaming in coffee fields, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of establishing of the Aztec tradition.
Well, wait a minute. You're jumping the gun, though. I want to talk about the money. Because is there a better way to heal out an entire episode right off the bat than offering money and not for any specific thing other than just Dario saying, like, I'm going to give this to whoever I like the best at the end. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the whole gimmick.
Okay, this is
great.
Something I had a little problem with is that Smoky Mountain Wrestling used to do like $1,000 checks in their matches, and that was like way too low. But Cornette's like, but people believe that much, you know?
Right.
I feel like $100,000 is too low for the Coke Lord temple owner to be throwing around. We've seen more than $100,000 in his desk in future episodes.
Yeah, but you got to imagine that conversation backstage, because Dorian was back there like, dude, I haven't paid any of these guys $100,000 over like a 10-year period. We can't offer more than that. That would just fuck me up. These guys will all be asking for money.
Yeah,
all the luchador stars of the show from AAA were like held down as like opening match jobbers.
Oh yeah.
No, and then they're like, hey, Dorian, if we do this show for you, can we break 4 figures for the year?
All right, so was Blue Demon versus Chavo the right first match?
I don't
with what they had.
Yeah,
I would never ever have used Blue Demon Jr. in the first place.
I feel that the strong point of all the seasons and of Lucha in general, Underground in general, is that they adapt on the fly and that they make the changes to make things better as they see them not working. And there's a lot of that in season 1. I think Blue Demon Jr. and Chavo is the perfect match for what it was intended to be in that moment.
A shout out to old school Lucha, which they did say on commentary. And I mean, there's good representatives if you're not going to get Santo on the show. Hijo del Santo's retired. It's not going to happen. So
the show would it have been too much? Would they have set the bar too high if like Drago and Aerostar had been the very first match?
Yes.
That might have been what they were planning.
It could have been what they wanted in the first place.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that was probably exactly the match that they envisioned of like, hey, let's tell people what Lucha Libre is. But I honestly kind of like the fact that they started off with 2 veteran guys, and whether you like it or not, the Blue Demon name is a big name. The Guerrero name, Chavo is not necessarily the Guerrero that everybody thinks of when you say the name Guerrero, but at the same time, he's a former WWE superstar, former tag champ. I mean, he's got
one of the greatest goddamn wrestlers in the world. The guy's fucking great. Like, he doesn't get enough credit for being as good as he is.
Yeah.
And blocking Byron on Twitter, masterful move. Chavo.
Oh, still blocked to this day, which is amazing. Instagram. Yeah. Anyway,
just like other,
I'm sure you share lots of pictures with him. So, but I think it was ironically good to be the first match because it didn't set the bar too high. It gave them a place to go. I wasn't thrilled with Blue Demon's performance by any stretch of the imagination, and I really did think Chavo gave him a lot to work with that he just didn't work with. I mean,
because he doesn't sell or have timing or do
no. I mean, there was a few spots where Chavo was trying to like show off some Lucha Libre and run the ropes with him a little bit. And you got to think, the other thing I liked about this is, that day one, being a former WWE superstar, especially, Chavo is going to come in as a huge baby face, whether you want that to be the case or not. There's no avoiding it. There's no way to heel him out. So I kind of liked that.
But
Blue Demon, they figured out real fast. But I like the fact that Blue Demon was getting heat just because we're in the States and Chavo is a huge name here.
Yeah,
that made it kind of okay
soy
for
Mexico,
me.
Chavo, yo soy.
Yeah, no, but for me on the second viewing or on this viewing around, I really did appreciate that storyline. Like
that's my puppy being bad, by the way.
Bring your puppy on camera. But I did like.
Okay, hold on.
Do I got a John Wick your puppy? What's up?
No, I'll bring him on. You guys continue. I'll bring the puppy on.
All right.
But I thought like that. The match was what it was, but the storyline that they put out and like the segments that they showed with Chavo and Dario, I thought that was all super precise and I thought it was really well done, even though the match itself wasn't, gangbusters.
Sorry if I keep looking away. Cowboy Cerrone is just putting the fucking hands on Duke Rufus's bitch boy Pettis right now.
They're all gonna have COVID in like 2 days.
Just because Jacare had it? I mean, nobody wants to touch Jacare anyway. That dude's a beast. But
he probably gave it to Dana White, who's giving it to everyone.
But Cowboy is trying to prove right now that he's not bitch made after that Connor fight. Sorry. Meatloaf, I want to know what you thought about this. I mean, you know quite a bit of Lucha Libre yourself. What did you think about, having the 2 veterans in there for that first match?
Well, I enjoyed the idea of having Blue Demon Jr. Just to give it that kind of history, if you know what I mean. They're trying to introduce American audience to Lucha Libre traditions and whatnot. So for me, having those 2 fight was a really good idea. But it's quite funny because Vampiro refers to him pretty much as like the son of Blue Demon. He's a dot.
Hello.
Oh, you just made our show 4.5% more adorable.
This is Cooper.
Please.
What's up, Coop?
Hi,
Cooper.
He doesn't have headphones.
Oh, the cat and the dog are gonna fight now.
Billy, get over here.
Oh my god.
He was just playing outside, and I made him come in to do an appearance. So I'm gonna let him go.
Turning into an episode of Tiger King.
I do think that Mifa has a really good point in that bringing Blue Demon Jr., you're able to talk about all of the things that the casual American TV viewer, the casual American wrestling viewer wouldn't quite get about Lucha Libre, about how there's this legacy of all the top performers that isn't like, they're really good wrestlers. No, these guys are the movie stars of the country too. And I think it was a good way to get all of that across. Whereas, it may be a different matchup, may not have given, like if you do have Aerostar Drago start the show, you could sort of talk about it, but it's like Mike Tenay talking about the luchadors on Nitro. Like it doesn't have the weight behind it that has when you have Blue Demon Jr. wrestle, because you're like, oh, this motherfucker has actually been around for a century. Look how old he is. Everything you're saying must be right.
You can tell by how he moves. Yeah.
Now, I was talking about the history and tradition, and you were talking about this a little bit, Byron. This whole Aztec thing, they do a vignette where Conan is kind of explaining it. He's also teasing a little bit of the Prince Puma thing, but it's really to get that folklore and that storytelling in there that we know DeJoseph and Roach were big on backstage. This whole 7 Aztec tribes thing, which to this day I'm still mad that they didn't pay that off more. I really wanted to see those tribes come together as factions more, and they did some of it, but there was never 7 at one time ever.
Let's just bring in a bunch of white people instead of the end.
Well, I'm not even talking about that part. I'm just talking about the fact that there was never 7 full tribes to my knowledge.
Well, El Bunny, that thing got kind of fucked. As you can see in the beginning of this episode, when you see El Bunny,
it's a little different.
The thing is that was Cross, and it took him 3.5 seasons
to grow that big.
Physical performance, physical attributes to where he's at now. Also to find a better suit. So that's why El Bunny didn't show up until then.
But what did you guys think off the bat of the concept of these 7 tribes? I mean, we were introduced to it with Prince Puma being from the hood, but having roots that went back to the Jaguar tribe and his ancestry, and he was destined for greatness as the champion of his tribe. What did you guys think of all that stuff?
I just thought it was funny that the representative of the tribe was a half black, half white guy from Kentucky.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Meef? Meef was going to try to say something there. He's got a little bit more of a lag than we do.
It was funny that basically he's part of the Jaguar tribe, and he's the head of it pretty much. They never went any further, but he wore basically Jaguar. He wore Jaguar spotted outfit, pants, and mask, and was a puma, which has no markings apart from around its eyes.
Maybe they wanted to call him Jet.
I mean, that shit. I'm just saying.
Clearly, the wardrobe department didn't get the note.
Yeah, but Jaguar, Prince Jaguar sounds weird.
It's okay. The Moth tribe had a butterfly.
Mariposa, that's a cool name. Anyway,
yeah.
Really, the only way you can tell the difference between a butterfly and a moth is when they sit down. A moth has its wings spread out, and a butterfly has its wings up.
You could also check their Twitters; they are drastically different.
Zubux Harvey over here, Jesus Christ!
So,
wait, Meatloaf was trying to say something, Byron. Why do you always cut off Meatloaf? Do you have something against British people? Like the revolution is over, we won.
Most butterflies are incorrectly called moths, and moths called butterflies.
Correct.
It happens.
That's why I talk over him. He's like that. Anyway,
You're racist.
You know what?
Byron, you're racist. That's all the
I
sewage.
love. Here's the
We
thing.
got a bat tribe. Like a bat tribe would have been fucking dope.
They came up with the tribes, and they're like, this is like an isolated story, sphere universe. These 7 tribes are going to be battling. There's this cokehead, kingpin that's running this underground fighting league, and there's this, weight behind it.
And we're going to be super reluctant to push anyone that's not.
The idea of the tribes and in the background, because it's like, oh, there's story and stuff to get into, and it's just another thing to get invested into.
Let's talk about what you get invested in. Go ahead.
I have another really big point to make.
Make it quickly. We're running out of time.
I don't watch PW. Yeah, we are. I don't watch PWG, so I didn't know at first that Prince Puma was a guy from Paducah.
Rick O'Shea.
Yeah.
Rick O'Shea, related to Ice Cube.
The Irish pub landlord.
Guys, stay on topic. Let's keep going.
Look, I want to talk about something that I know that you can get invested in, something that I know is going to change the landscape of wrestling forever, something that I know was a high point of Lucha Underground from start to finish. Son of Havoc versus Sexy Star.
No, you know what? I was going to shit on this match this week. Because Sexy Star,
not the worst one they've ever had, either of them. That's not that bad.
Let me tell you something, Justin. If you were going to bring in the AAA roster for a show, and you were going to start the show by showcasing probably my least favorite member of the AAA roster, and that's including people like fucking Gronda. It's pretty great when you're showcasing this great new star and she loses to a fucking backbreaker.
I mean, I think they were trying to show that, like, in this world, women can wrestle men.
In my notes.
But at the same time, it's still going to be realistic in the fact that she's not going to beat him right now. She's going to have to do more to beat him than just come in and wrestle head to head with, some strapping dude.
Something that Lucha Underground did a lot was they never brought in someone brand new, like a new hire, and had them win their first match. Everyone always had somewhere to go.
That's actually an old ECW policy, is you always job on your first night in. That's yeah.
And you should.
I like it. I do think that the promo was really good for Sexy Star. I think they should have just had her speak Spanish.
I agree.
I'm sure they have,
but I believe there's another version where she does speak Spanish, right? In the Spanish broadcast from season 1, she cut all their promos and vignettes in both languages,
and all vignettes were shot in both languages.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of
which
them.
Was a huge foolish production cost, but I like where they got to eventually of just having the Spanish performer speak Spanish and then do a translation or not, and just having the English performer speak English. I think that one of the places where Lucha Underground missed the boat is that Hugo should have been the third commentator the whole time, and he should have spoken Spanish. Vampiro should have spoken both, and Stryker should have spoken English. They can all understand. They can all understand both languages. So why not just literally have commentary? Like when Hugo wants to say something, just have him say it in Spanish without any translation or whatever. Have Stryker speak in English. Have Vampiro do whichever one his confused brain does at the time. Which, again, could be gibberish.
You guys
that would have been amazing.
You guys want me to fuck your head up about Hugo Savinovich really quick? Okay, you know Hugo. You know what he looks like, right?
Yeah.
Motherfucker was married to Wendy Richter for years.
That's good. Nice work, Hugo.
That's real.
All right, I want to move on though. Let's talk about there were some vignettes in there. I don't even really want to get into it. Let's get into
Can I say one thing real quick on the topic of how Lucha?
Can you say something? Can you say one thing real quick? Is that humanly possible? Is that possible? Can you do it quickly?
Not every gimmick, like a lot of the gimmicks in the first episode, don't survive because they're evolving and adapting. But what really stood out to me was, no, but on that topic, guess what stays?
Melissa Santos.
No, she even changes over the years. The son of Havoc voice. They're like, oh yeah, this is a good idea.
Hey, I'm trying to Herbert.
Voice.
Would you?
Knowing damn well nobody from Cleveland talks like that.
I'd fuck me hard. I'd fuck me.
Wait, that is kind of the way I do the intro to this show. Maybe it is a Cleveland thing. Woke up.
Welcome to Mass Pats and Mayhem. Was she a great big fat person? It puts the lotion on its skin, or else it gets the hose skin.
I'm totally tucking right now too.
Oh, give me that Jay from Jay and Silent Bob Tuck.
No, I'm not, because Ryan said he's gonna fucking.
Yeah, I don't know where we're
video.
broadcasting this yet. All right, so the match, the one thing that is really worth talking about from the first episode, everybody knows it. If you haven't seen the first episode, this is the reason to go watch it. Johnny Mundo, who had been off the radar for a while, he was out of wrestling for what, like 2-3 years at that point.
I don't like how in this early part of the season they're still referencing WWE so much, because they did it for Mundo, they did it for Big Rick, but
Striker going, I know that face.
Yeah,
it comes off so thick.
Yeah, it's because no one's just a star in underground fighting. Johnny Mundo, this is a guy that's wrestled elsewhere with a bunch of different fucking names. But here he's Johnny Mundo. I don't like that shit because it's clearly a different universe. We're killing people, Justin.
I do think with the TV show they were trying to really I mean, we know that they got a certain audience that was super loyal, but it's the first episode.
Let's be honest. I think that was DeJoseph's hand on that one. I mean,
thanks, DJ.
I think that but DJ has always had a certain amount of pride in WWE, his time at WWE. I mean, he had a few bad things to say, but for the most part, he appreciated his time there and still respected WWE a lot. And I think he wanted to give Mundo that rub and that respect for the time that he put in there.
Dude's there now, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's back there now. So,
I mean, to be fair, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I just feel that
I just think that's where it came.
Separate.
I agree with you, Casey, that I don't think it benefited the story, but I think it benefited the overall image that DJ was coming into right off the bat and what he felt was the presentation of that guy from another world that he had dealt with before.
I do feel like some of it would be insulting the audience's intelligence. I do see both sides. It's just weird.
I felt like
you guys, I'm right. Fuck it.
But they were doing that. I mean, I get it. I thought it was annoying. I'm like, oh, that's okay. Well, I get it, Striker. I've seen that face. I get it. But
I don't think they got it at the time. I don't think they knew what their new kayfabe line was in this world because nothing like this had ever been done.
Right.
I mean, you're building it on the spot. Like, was this guy a WWE wrestler? We can't some random street fighter. Are we going to just make up a backstory? Or
we can't shit on Elm Street 2 for breaking the rules when the rules weren't set up yet.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, really, up until we get to the first Aztec warfare, it's a free for all.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, anyway, it's a great match. It's Mundo goes over with the end of the world.
Mundo.
Moonlight driving Mundo.
No, Moonlight drives.
No, Moonlight drives standing Spanish flag, right?
No, it's like the twirly neck breaker thing, and then
whatever.
Like
he did some flippy shit, and it was cool.
Yeah,
and
he
Puma
he did a Moonlight drive. Then he did the Puma missed a 450. Then he hit the one man Spanish fly, and then he hit the end of the world.
A lot of action is exactly what you'd want to see. I don't know if these guys had ever wrestled each other before. I don't think they had.
No, they hadn't. But
I mean, it was phenomenal. Great chemistry, and just seeing Ricochet do some of the things and actually modify quite a few of the things that he had been doing in PWG in Japan and other places. Like he actually, like you could tell that he stylistically worked on something different for this character, not to make it appear like it was somebody different than it was, but just to add some new layers. And I completely appreciated it.
I love
this is a great feud. You know, it sucks that it had to start with a babyface match, but it goes such awesome places that it's all good.
Yeah, I think if you want the Prince Puma character to go where it's going to go, you had to do a babyface match. Because again, like what we were saying with Chavo, bringing in an established superstar from WWE that first day, no matter what, he's going to be a babyface. If you're trying to use the live crowd at all. There's just no way around it.
Now, how do you guys feel about Mundo being the one that went over? So the last thing you see is a WWE guy going over in the episode.
I loved it. Loved it.
Yeah, and again, you got to give Ricochet somewhere to go.
I'll tell you why. For me personally, it did exactly what The Chase is supposed to do. It made me want to see real Lucha Libre guys come in and kick his fucking teeth in.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I also didn't mind it because I knew that Puma wasn't a real Lucha Libre guy at the time. Like, I
Right.
would have been more upset if I didn't also look at him as just another American outsider anyway. I was a little bit put off when it got to being that was the first big headlining match, just because to me it wasn't Lucha Libre at the time. And it really isn't. It became the style of Lucha Underground Lucha Libre.
Right.
But at the time, that was like a PWG match. Let's be
Well,
honest.
you got to figure Lucha Underground Lucha Libre is a completely different style. If you watch
Absolutely,
the matches, dives are more like transitions, and a lot of time lead to a break in the action. We see kind of like middles of the match cut out and replaced with the dive sequences so that they can go straight to a finish and have a shorter match. That kind of thing wasn't as evident here because we got more time. This was about a 15-minute match, which on an hour-long episode is actually a big fucking deal. And I'm interested in where this went, because we did get to see 3 new characters get introduced at the end of this match, and I was so stoked to see Lil Cholo in there.
Yeah,
I fucking love that guy. I've been a fan of his on the indies forever. I was so happy to see him be one of those guys.
I cracked up when Cortez Castro had the mic and he's like, there's only one name. He's standing next to 2 guys. One of them is 3 times the size. And he's like, there's only one name you need to know. That's Cortez Castro.
It's like, okay.
Cholo's like,
but they had to do that though, because that name, I mean, if you think about it, Cortez, not exactly a household family name in Mexico.
No,
I mean, he's the conquering Spanish dictator that nobody likes. And Castro, like, it's the most genius heel name ever for any type of Lucha Libre performer to get heat. And DJ's just sitting back there laughing the second the word Cortez Castro comes out of his mouth, and Ricky's up there like, I can't believe I have to say this shit.
And then Lil Cholo's got to be Cisco, which is cool.
Mr. Cisco,
the whole crew, even B-Boy, they were all awesome. I thought.
But we get to see B-Boy in the second episode, but he's not. He's
feeding, right? He's just feeding and lying on the ground like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, so.
Doesn't Famous B feed in that episode too?
He does. Yeah.
All right, we'll talk about that next week.
Guys.
So that's the first episode. Can we just kind of wrap it up with like our impressions of it? Like, we're promised a new product. How did you feel after watching the first episode?
Well, I'll say this. I did not feel hoodwinked. I was certainly invested in it, but being a TV producer myself, I was really impressed with the fact that they legitimately merged Mark Burnett's style with Robert Rodriguez's style. And that was at that point in time, like, the wrestling was great and I was kind of intrigued by it. But again, at the time, I wasn't huge into wrestling. So I wasn't really thinking about that. Like, I knew my Lucha Libre, and actually I had probably watched more Lucha Libre the years before that than any WWE. So I didn't even know Mundo had been on the shelf that long, to tell you the truth. But my real takeaway was, like, I'm really intrigued to see how they keep producing this show.
I just liked how fucking weird it was. Honestly. And I like weirder shit in wrestling. I got a big fucking wing flag right there behind me. It's hard to point backwards.
You got wings going everywhere in your room.
Are those bat wings on the wall?
No, the bat wings are in my shorts right
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's hot. It's really hot. But yeah, that's why we need the Manscaped sponsorship.
Let's bring it on.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just liked how weird it was. Again, I started on episode 3 where all the guys I like are actually wrestling. So I went back and watched these ones after that. And so
they were just kind of filler to you then.
Yeah, I was more on board with that. Once you get to see Drago and Pentagon and Phoenix and Aerostar and all these guys that I had been watching on AAA, that I'm like, somebody needs to sign these motherfuckers, And now people have signed these motherfuckers. We get to see them. And
what about you, Meef?
Yeah, Meef.
Well, my first was of Aztec Warfare, but then going back and watching this, it's more to do with the story for me. So I was really hooked in how the story was going to play out. And as soon as that got into because I've been obsessed with Aztecs since I was a kid, I was like, that got me in. And I needed a product which was like story and good story, not some cheesy, some other dude fucking your wife storyline.
Mhm.
I wanted something with substance, and straight away off the bat, there was quite a lot in this that was giving it the vignettes and kind of giving the history. For me, that was kind of where it was going to, the hook.
Byron?
Yeah, I'm going with Meef. I mean, I was just off of a TV show. I mean, it all blurs together, whichever one it was. But I just remember, like, it was one of those days when I got all my stuff suitcase and I just spent the whole day tired in bed. And I watched a whole bunch of episodes of probably the first half of Lucha Underground. What really stuck out to me, I was interested, but what stuck out to me was the story. The story element of this is so strong, it's so prevalent that it became a bingeable show. It's like, I wanted to watch whatever, the show. No, I'm not going to tell you guys the shows I'm watching.
We don't need the analogy. Just did you like it or not, man?
I liked it. I liked it. It's like, I liked it. It's just, it had a bingeable quality to me because my first introduction was, I'm just going to watch like 6 episodes at once.
Okay, so then here's what you do next time we ask you this question, Byron. You just go, bingeable, yay! And then we move on, man.
I have to explain how I feel about bingeable things. So
I know you're all in your feelings. I'm just fucking with you. I do have a few other things I want to get to before we wrap up this episode.
We're not done. 1 hour. Hard out.
We're not done.
We're not. No, we still have some time because our timer right now.
Yeah, Byron. I know we started a little
pre-roll.
late because somebody was dicking around with their cameras and microphones and voice settings and still looking purple on camera. So it really worked well. Good job. All right, I'm moving on.
Work of StreamYard.
I'm moving on.
I gotta transition. The
snozberries taste
like the gingerbread.
So the show ended with Mundo versus Puma, and we know that they would have some epic battles in Lucha Underground. They both now currently work in WWE, which is a different wrestling company. About wrestling companies.
You really needed to do that transition. We couldn't just say, hey, let's talk about what's happened in wrestling since then. All right, which is what
I wanted to upset you guys.
Okay, so I don't watch shit now. I watch AEW. I'm like a couple weeks behind because my favorite wrestlers haven't been appearing on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like AEW a lot, actually. I'm just a little behind on it right now. And
well, that's kind of what I kind of want to approach it from that, because I feel like there was Lucha Underground, and at the time it was really like Lucha Underground and Impact were the other American companies. Ring of Honor had some cool stuff going on for a while too. Well, they had the Hardy stuff going on, and for a little while, and Young Bucks, and they were hot for a second back then when Lucha Underground was still going. But post Lucha Underground, Ring of Honor kind of died off. A lot of guys went over to Impact for a little bit. And there was a bit of a void. I mean, you saw guys, going to places like Wrestle Circus and MLW, which wasn't a TV show at the time.
And you saw the indies just get flooded with Lucha Underground talent because everyone that saw the show wanted to book the Lucha Bros.
The indies were so hot. And honestly, a lot of the Lucha talent really fed that, because here are these people that had TV time that were clearly stars, and they went out there. And that, to me, was part of what left the door open for AEW to be a thing. It was like these guys were over in Japan. They had great gimmicks, and they were realizing that, their YouTube stuff and podcasts and other things that they were doing were tracking huge over here. And when they would come and do Ring of Honor shows over here, the indie crowd was jumping on it. I think that the void that Lucha Underground left really paved the way for AEW in a lot of ways, even though the top stars weren't Lucha Underground guys.
I just feel bad that a lot of the Lucha Underground guys that were still under AAA contract, under loyalty, didn't cut ties like Phoenix and Pentagon did at first, and therefore had to be dealt with through the AAA office, which is a huge pain in the fucking ass. and prevents them from getting booked here a lot of the time.
That was a pretty remarkable thing with the Lucha Ground empowered guys like Phoenix, the Pentagon, and others, even like Jack Evans, to say, no, I'm not going to work for AAA under their
What I'm
terms.
saying is Drago and Aerostar should have done the same shit, is what I'm saying.
They should have, but here's the thing. They are actual Mexican performers that live there and breathe there, and that's really more their world. And you saw that pretty much anybody who could get out of being there full time did. And certain performers were really smart the way they moved on, and we'll talk about a little bit of that in the next episode. But I think the general landscape, the things I can say I know for a fact is the people that were being held hostage were not being held hostage by Lucha Underground.
No.
They were being held hostage by AAA. And that has been a big misconception out there. And everybody who asked eventually got let out, even Evilise and all these other people. And honestly, they weren't being stopped when they went and did other shit anyway. Plenty of people did, you know? And we'll talk about that more next week. But I think that it was really interesting, the landscape there. I think Impact had a little bit of a hot run because of it. I think that, you know, Ring of Honor was coming off of a hot run there then anyway. And I really think that it opened the door. I think AAA got more exposure too when those guys went back, because now that was the primary place you could see Drago and Aerostar and some of the other performers.
Yeah, it definitely helped out Sammy Callahan. It helped out Willie Mack.
MLW, dude.
Yeah, MLW wouldn't exist without
Shane
it.
Strickland's house. MLW took Shane Strickland out of Lucha Underground, gave him all the backstage vignettes, and made him, you know, the movie star of that.
And Byron, you were totally supposed to save that for the next episode.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. I'm not going to get into Shane Strickland. But
That's a tease. That's a tease for you people.
That's a tease, but
well, I can't believe I have to wait a whole week to talk about it with you guys.
I know. Look, the whole landscape
and wear the same clothes too.
Definitely changed. And as much as I miss Lucha Underground, I have to say that Lucha Underground going away actually improved wrestling as a whole.
I think we have really NWA doing a different version of studio wrestling.
Power.
It's Power. It's the same show. It's the same cornball show.
You know what? It's not cornball enough. They took out fucking Into the Fire as their theme song. What the fuck is up with that bullshit?
They should go more corny.
Dawkins or die.
You know what? People talk about a lot of scientific reasons why we got COVID, but if you ask me, it's because NWA got rid of Into the Fire.
Yeah, they took Dawkins off their show, and shit happens to the world.
All right, I got two more topics I want to talk about quickly, but the last thing I want to say about Lucha Underground right now is that people have asked about Lucha Underground. Can it come back? Will it come back? Here's the technical answer for right now. It can, in fact, come back. Just because El Rey is not going to bring it back does not mean Lucha Underground is dead. This is a fact. The TV rights will revert back to MGM in the not too distant future. And what happens from there, whether I know or not, I will not say right now, but I will say this. Don't just think that Lucha Underground is dead forever because it's not on the air right now. It's valuable IP, and it did make money. The investors got paid back. Everybody was happy at the end money-wise, except for the performers that had to take giant time off in their career. They couldn't do other shit, but that's a whole nother story. But as a business, as a name, as a product, as an idea, Lucha Underground is by no means dead.
It just can't have any of the people that you liked seeing there.
Maybe or maybe not. Maybe or maybe not, but I'll tell. Like, look, some of those people have gone on to other contracts that they can't get out of right now. But how long are those contracts for, and how long are we talking about before the Underground comes back? You guys got to keep watching our show in weeks to come, because I'll have some more of those answers for you. All right, I want to move on, Byron. Don't get carried away here. I want to move on. There's two things I need to talk about very quickly. I need to talk about Fire Pro and Predator, because these fuckos, I've been going crazy. I'm in a house with just brown curtains everywhere. It's like a 4 by 12 house, and it's just brown curtains. So I've been losing my mind.
Are you living in a cardboard box?
These crazy fuckers. No, they're curtains. It's got bevels and shit. These guys got me a PS4. I've been an Xbox guy for years. these fuckers got me a PS4 simply so that Casey could remove my spine in this Predator game, and then eventually they can get me on Fire Pro. Tell me why this had to happen, and no, I did not cry.
Because like we just started wondering why we were friends with you to begin with when you were an Xbox guy. And we're like, really? Like, why were we friends with Justin in the first place? He doesn't even have a PlayStation. It's like, come on. So Byron and I started playing this Predator game, right? Like, we started playing during the demo. It's really easy to get Byron into something when it's free. So I'm like, hey, Byron.
Hold on.
Oh, what about all those free Lucha Underground tapings you went to, pal? Anyway.
Oh, hold on. Just on that subject, Lucha Underground, though, for those going to the show, you would get 4 incredible Southern California wrestling shows because they would take 4 episodes in a weekend. You would get them for free.
If you were lucky enough to get tickets for both days of the weekend too, because that was hard also. But yeah,
that's a whole other story that we'll get into on another.
So so we got Justin a PlayStation 4. We all chipped in, us 3 and Jim, and we got it for him. And how does he thank us? By crying like a baby and denying it.
Yeah,
and
that
lying.
was not crying.
He cried for like 4 hours.
4 hours. We saw the package
hours.
was signed for, and he didn't thank us for 4 hours. That is 4 hours of crying.
That's not crying. That's eye coming.
Wow.
Either way.
That's how happy I was. My eyes came for you. I wasn't crying.
We play the game with headphones on. I hear him cry every time Casey sneaks up to him.
That's different. That really hurts my soul. That's a whole.
But
Look, man, I played video games for a long time. I'm not bad at them. I might be a little rusty, but I'm not bad at them. But I have never played a game and just had somebody recklessly remove my spine at the end of it for no reason. Like the first time I played Mortal Kombat against like a super pro, they didn't even get a fatality off on me. And this fucker takes the Predator and just like.
Now the fun thing is we're playing random select who gets to be the Predator, and it gave me the Predator 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
If you don't know the game, it's like basically any first-person shooter like Call of Duty.
It's the guys that made Friday the 13th, so it's asymmetrical. 4 of you, up to 4 people play as soldiers. One person's the Predator, and you murder each other. Or
look, the boss is telling me we got to wrap up soon.
Soldiers are trying to do a mission, and as you're doing a mission, the Predator goes around and tries to kill you. It's a lot of fun. If you see us on the PlayStation Network, look us up, or just go play it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm Lucha Gringo. He's Byron Fever. Meatloaf's Meatloaf. Justin, you're Outlaw LA Red.
Just like it says there. Byron, what's up with Fire Pro edits? You guys got new stuff?
So Fire Pro edits is awesome. Get on Fire Pro.
Dude, Byron made so many MMMshow logos. They're really good. His name is Byron Fever on there. If you just search MMM in the search for the items, you can get all our logos. You can put our logos on your junk.
You can find all of us too. I'm in the game. Meatloaf is in the game. Casey is in the game. Justin is in the game.
Jim's in the game. He's not
in the game.
All right, clock's running. That's great. So, I got one last topic.
We'll talk more about Fire Pro another time.
This is the important thing. This is the important question of the day. Should Chris Benoit be in the WWF Hall of Fame? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why Chris Benoit should be in the Hall of Fame. Because the end of his life does not say shit about the rest of his life. Okay? There's been a lot of people there. Look, Mike Tyson. Would you say right now that Mike Tyson is not one of the greatest boxers of all time? He never repented for all the evil shit that he did. He never became a better person. He stopped doing bad shit. But you can't say that the guy wasn't a great fighter. I'm not supposed to say I'm not saying that, Chris Benoit went out as a fucking hero. I'm not saying the last days of his life weren't fucked. I'm not saying that he didn't have brain issues. I'm not saying he didn't have CTE. I'm not saying he didn't have a drug problem. I'm not saying he isn't a fucking murderer. I'm saying that he is, but I'm also saying that it doesn't discount the fact that he went in the ring and performed better than a million trillion people out there.
Okay,
so
I'm going to say
my take is he should be in.
I'm going to say it'll never happen. But there already is a Diddly Erdler in the Hall of Fame. Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Thank you.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Snuka was worse because Snuka knew and did everything on purpose.
I mean, you're going to kill your son, Byron?
Hold on. I forgot that part.
What are you saying, Meatloaf? I want to hear what Meef says.
I just said I can't believe Byron thought it was worse.
Okay, little context here. I've known Byron for like 25 plus years. His favorite wrestler was Chris Benoit when we met. Just saying.
No, I loved Chris Benoit, but I can't reconcile what he turned into at the end and what he did. It's just the thing is, it's like the whole Hall of Fame. It's not like the baseball.
Talking about him moving to ECW, not him murdering his family.
That really hurt your parts, huh? Look, here's what I'm saying. It's not that I don't want him to be rewarded for evil, for just pure evil. I'm not saying that at all. I don't want him to be rewarded for it, but I don't think that it should be ignored either. I think what WWE has done post there, it's been terrible. I think that people should be talking about his CTE. They should be talking about the issues. They should be talking about greatness gone awry and the sadness at the end of the whole thing. And I think that that's a part of it. I think that that story from start to finish needs to be part of the Hall of Fame because it is WWE. It is honestly part of what wrestling is.
Yeah, I mean,
we don't the price. Hall of Fame. I do gotta say that I feel like the erasure of Chris Benoit from history is a little unfair to his opponents that had great matches. That those,
like Chris Jericho can't have a best of.
So imagine this with me at the induction. People actually get up there and flat out say, like, look, it's tragic. We don't want to reward Chris Benoit, and we don't want to say that anything that he did at the end of his life was good. But what we do want to say is that sometimes wrestling has a tragic end. This business is hard. This business does bad things to people, and we all aspire to greatness, and we need to do better than what happened to Chris Benoit. If that's the induction speech, you can't tell me that it doesn't change the face of wrestling forever.
Right, but
they're afraid to do it because they're a publicly held company.
Absolutely.
They don't. I mean, the thing is, it's a carny business full of carnies, and every generation they get better.
Look, that's it for today. That's all. That's it. We're done. Next week. Shut up. I'm doing the outro. God damn it. How are we ever going to get out of time if we do this?
Happy product to kids. About the price that it costs. That's the thing.
You're missing the point of a cold ending. You have an idea, you don't finish it. We just say next week on MMMshow, what happened to the stars of Lucha Underground, the demise of Lucha Underground.
But we're not supposed to talk about this right now.
Why not?
Because how did we not get better at this after not doing it for a year and a half?
That's okay. So stay cool and
no. It goes like this. Until next time. Until next time, stay calm and stay in the mix.